In every writer's journey, you're going to need to learn some things. And I, over my 6, 7, 8 years of writing, have learned a couple things that I really wish I would have known before I embarked on it, because they would have saved me a ton of time and grief and, sitting in the corner and crying a lot. So that's kind of what this video is about. It's 5 tips that I wish I would have known about writing before I actually started writing. Tip number 1 is to learn to accept constructive criticism. Now let's clarify what constructive criticism actually is and what it's not. Good constructive criticism gives you something you can do. It provides you with something that is actionable, something clear and specific, like your dialogue is bad because it's bland, or even just your dialogue is bad. Well, that may not be as direct or as helpful as the other criticism. It at least gives you something that you can work on. The best constructive criticism actually tells you ways that you may be able to improve it, perhaps from someone that you know and trust and respect, another author, a friend, someone, an editor. That kind of constructive criticism can give you specific ways on how you can improve whatever it was. But learning to accept that your writing is not perfect is very important, and we'll get more to that in a second. But there's another type of criticism that is not helpful at all, and that's spiteful criticism. Spiteful criticism is something like, "This sucks." What the fuck does that mean? What does that tell me? Does that tell me anything? It tells me you didn't like it, but why? What about it did you not like? "This sucks" is not criticism. It's someone being a dick. It's not giving you any way to improve, and that person's goal is not to help you become better. That person's goal may be to get some kind of attention, it may be to feel better about themselves and their lackluster lives, but essentially something like that, which you will encounter as an author, and hell, you encounter here as a YouTuber, is something that you should just learn to be able to brush off, because it is not a reflection of you. It is a personal preference statement that has nothing to do with anything. If they're not telling you something that is actionable, they may not even know what they're trying to say. They may not even know why it sucks. They just want to be hurtful. So just let that shit go. And I know that's easier said than done, but try. Tip number 2 is simple but crucial. Right. I know, right? That sounds really simple and obvious, but sometimes it's one of the things that we forget. There's a reason why I named this channel Just Start Writing, because for a long time I didn't. I was so scared of my writing being bad that I just didn't write. You're not going to become a better writer just by reading, learning, and doing other things. You will learn things, but you do still have to actually write. So tip number 2 is just start. Start writing whatever you have in your mind right now. There's going to be a theme in these next several tips where essentially it's okay for your writing to be bad. You're learning. We're all learning. I'm still learning. I have 2 books out, a 3rd on the way, and I'm still learning how to write. It's okay for it to be bad. Just start writing. Learn what you do well, learn what you need to work on, get some feedback on it, easy feedback on plot and dialogue and even grammatical structure. It doesn't need to be great, just start. I have absolute shit writing that I wrote when I was in high school, and maybe one day I'll share it with you, but essentially, shit writing leads to good writing. So you have to start somewhere. Now, tip number 2 goes hand in hand with tip number 3. Edit. Before I go into this tip, I really urge caution, because editing can be kind of a slippery slope. I, for one, got stuck in my first draft of just endlessly re-editing the same thing over and over again, trying to get that first paragraph right, which is great to be very conscientious of what your first paragraph is going to be, because that's how you hook people. But if you spend an inordinate amount of time writing and rewriting and editing and editing and editing on that, you're not going to write shit. You're just going to have a very pristine paragraph, and that'll be it. You have to at some point let go and then just write it out and then start editing afterward. But there's another thing about editing that you should be doing, especially as you're learning, and it's something that I didn't think about until a couple years into my writing. And that's editing other people's work. Find a writer's group. That's what I did. I joined The Next Big Writer and I edited a lot of different authors. And for a while, I was a little scared to do that. I was like, how am I going to be the one telling them, well, this is wrong? And then I realized that when I was editing them, I'm telling them my suggestion. They don't have to take it or accept it. This is just what I see. And if they don't take it, fine. But if they do, great. I was trying to pinpoint out things that I was seeing that didn't work. Word choices, grammar, different kind of things that really needed some work from where I was standing. And the more I did that, the more I edited other people's work, the better my own work became. Tip number 4 is going to be the absolute easiest one of these, and you may have done it before you started this video or you'll be doing it afterwards, and that's read. Read extensively. Books in your genre, books outside of your genre, writing books, any kind of books, sociology books, psychology books. Read as much as you can. Reading helps you become a better writer because, well, 1, you learn things, and 2, as a reader, you get to see what things you liked and what things you didn't like. You get to also see, if you're going with the other ones of writing and editing, some of the things that may or may not have worked in good published books. And that might help you, like it did me, to realize that some of these books that you look up to actually have some flaws. There are things that could have been done better in really any book you've probably ever read. There are words or grammar or things that just don't fit. So read as much as you can. And that does not mean you have to stick to physical books or ebooks. You are more than welcome to read audiobooks. And yes, that's reading. Audiobooks are still reading. And reading an audiobook can be helpful in a really specific way. Because one of the things that I suggest when you are writing is to put your work through a text-to-speech reader to kind of see how is it coming across. Well, an audiobook is essentially that, but on steroids. The more you read, the better you'll be able to recognize different patterns and things in books and in your own writing. And finally, tip number 5, which honestly is perhaps the most important. Give yourself permission to suck. It's okay if you write something that is crap. Every piece of art, and writing is no exception, has an ugly face. Give yourself the room you need to suck at it. It's okay. It really is okay. That misplaced comma, not knowing what the fuck to do with who and whom, overusing dialogue tags or not using them at all, using too many adverbs or too little adverbs, your characters feeling hollow or not being distinct from each other, that is all okay. Don't judge yourself too harshly. Your writing is not going to be perfect. We've all sucked. I often still suck. It's okay. And once you start giving yourself a little bit leeway, you may find that you can be a bit more creative. And I say this from a point of very personal experience. When I was writing my second book, as I've talked about a couple times on this channel, I was over 100,000 words into that book, and I almost threw it away. Because to me, it sucked. It was awful. My wife saved me from throwing that book away. I've had similar thoughts on my third book, and when I go and look back at my first book, I see things that suck. It's okay, and being able to recognize it in the first place means you're learning. You are learning the things that work best for you, and you're learning the things from your readers that they want to see. Keep going. Forgive yourself for the mistakes and just learn and keep pressing forward. Just keep writing. That's all I have for you today, but please keep in mind that it is important for you to just start writing because we all need your stories. My name is Mark Moore. If you want to see my books, I have linked them down below. Thank you so much for spending some time here today, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.